We do have reports of a tornado that has touched down on the ground near the Hudson area. You're looking right now at Storm Track 7 live Doppler radar, the line of showers and storms moving through the Waterloo and Hudson area. And again, we've had that report of a tornado touching the ground and even some damage. I believe some of that damage was reported at the intersection of Rhinebeck and Eagle. That is what we've heard so far. And we've also heard the intersection of 175 and 63 thrown out. So let's kind of zoom in here on the Hudson area at our current situation. Again, there's currently no tornado warning in effect from the National Weather Service, but you can see these reds popping up here, indicating some heavy rainfall. There's Hudson right there. And that is the area that we have had those reports of a tornado on the ground. Let's switch over to our velocity, and this measures the wind direction and wind speeds according to the radar. And we are pretty far from all three all three radar sites here. So we're not getting a great sampling of the storm. We can maybe pick out a little bit of rotation kind of in this area right here. Nothing definitive, though. That's the area that we have had reports, though, of a tornado touching the ground. We've heard it over the scanner, and we've had some viewer pictures, different reports of some damage in that location. Again, the Weather Service has not issued a tornado warning for this area just quite yet. This would be to the southwest, of the Waterloo area. These storms are moving very, very quickly. That is one thing we will notice with these storms. They are pushing about 50 miles per hour to the northeast. So from where we've had that report so far, this is what we would look at in terms of timing. 5:54 p.m. for Waterloo West High School, 5:56 for the Waterloo area, and then the Riverfront Stadium around 5:57 p.m. We're going to send things over now to Chief.
Yeah, we've got the reports are coming in. The reports are coming in that there's a tornado south of Hudson. We're getting reports of about 10 miles south of Hudson. There's a tornado. They are trying to relay the information to the National Weather Service. At this point, we are looking at the radar here. So zoom in real tight there into Hudson and just south of Hudson. So there's Waterloo. There's Washburn. We back out just a little bit here. You'll be able to see. There's Evansdale, a little farther, a little more. There's Hudson. So there's where the storm is going to be. We're looking at that. If we could change the prompt over, if you can, with you a little bit. There's Eagle Center. There's Hudson. So the storm is associated with this right here. So this is where the potential for that tornado to be. We've gotten reports of a tornado. There's also unofficial reports of some damage in this area, just to the south of Hudson. There's no official warning yet at this point from the National Weather Service. So we're monitoring that, passing the information along. It's not being picked up on the radar when it comes to the velocity there, but the storm is associated. See, there's not a whole lot there, the way we look at things with the coloration. As of this point, we are looking at maybe as a possibility right there, potential. That would be where the storm would be. Last report, it was about 10 miles south of Hudson, getting reports of a tornado there, as well as some damage. So if we go back to the reflectivity, and you can see that's the storm that we're watching very carefully. So here's Waterloo, here's LaPorte City, here's Dewar, and it's heading just south of the Washburn area. The report came in just south of Hudson, so it's heading towards Eagle Center. Hudson, you're in the clear now at this point as the storm moves away over towards Washburn. As we head towards the LaPorte City area, that will continue to track on towards the east. So folks that live out in this area, Jessup over towards Brandon, keep in mind you're still under that tornado watch that's in effect. We are looking at potential for some damaging winds. The atmosphere still very unstable and won't take very long to get a thunderstorm to go, and then that would become a tornado. So the wind is changing. We're in height, and so really we're looking at this to be a quick changing situation as we head through the next hour or so as this line of thunderstorms moves on through a very unstable atmosphere and an atmosphere conducive for tornadoes. So the timing of this, Don Bosco High School, that'll be 6:56, which is any minute now. LaPorte City at 5:58. Looking at Jessup High School, that'll be at 6:07. That'll be the timing as the storm moves in this direction. They're moving fairly quickly, 40, 50 miles an hour. As you can see, the storms are moving to the north and a little bit to the east. You're probably looking at Waterloo, Cedar Falls area. We've got some rain pushing on in. Once this passes, the threat for severe weather is over. They've been canceling the watches once this line passes through the region, but it's going to be everything in advance of that. Buchanan and Delaware counties, they just recently added these counties into the tornado watch, so something we'll continue to monitor. So there it is. There's your tornado watch. Didn't include Dubuque County, so right along Highway 20 here and southward has the best chance of a tornado. Still a couple of counties lingering here, but they've canceled this area where there was a tornado watch a little bit earlier, and that continues all the way down towards the Quad Cities. So this watch is in effect until 9 o'clock, but I anticipate as the speed of these storms moves toward the east, the storms will outrace the clock there, so the warning or the watch will probably be even further. So a couple of thunderstorms off to the south and east of the Quad Cities, but we're watching this area in particular right in advance of that all the way up towards Delaware County. These thunderstorms here are starting to develop southward, and then we're going to continue to slide towards the north and east. So folks that are living in around Vinton, over towards Cedar Rapids, even down towards Iowa City, where things have been pretty warm out there, now there's that tornado warning that we were talking about. So now that we're getting that tornado warning that's in effect. So the sirens will probably be going off as the storm continues to track off towards the north. So officially now a tornado warning in effect. This is until 6:30, so about 30 minutes. So your sirens will be going off. You should be taking shelter. We got reports of, again, the storm is about 10 miles, or originally about 10 miles south of included this would be Dunkerton, Elk Run Heights, Evansdale, and the southeastern side of Waterloo. So, Brandon, let's zoom in real tight between Waterloo and a little bit farther to the south there. You can see this where the storm is located. This is where the possibility between Waterloo and Washburn right now, and that'll track toward the northeast. This would be just to the west of Raymond, but still thunderstorms and some gusty winds. Wouldn't be surprised to see some large hail out of some of these thunderstorms as well. Here's where Evansdale is. Here's Waterloo. Farther to the north and west is Cedar Falls and towards Orange. So here's Jessup High School that we were talking about earlier. As the storm continues to track toward the north and east, we have the possibility for a tornado. We've gotten reports of a tornado just south of Hudson. Also reports of some damage as well. Getting more information on that as the newsroom is starting to get information for us, and we'll pass that along. So not much on the velocity right now when it comes to the spin that's being detected by the radar, but we do have the thunderstorm that's passing on through the region.
Okay, so
go ahead, Kyle.
Yes, so yeah, that newly issued tornado warning here for Black Hawk County does include Waterloo, Evansdale, Elk Run Heights, and Dunkerton. This goes until 6:30 p.m. So if you are in the Waterloo, I would say even Cedar Falls, Washburn, Jessup area, go ahead and seek shelter. We just did get a report from the National Weather Service that the tornado was 5 miles south of Hudson near the intersection of Rhinebeck Road and Highway 63. Nothing on the ground at this time. So at this point in time, this is radar indicated. Right now, the tornado or potential tornado would be located very near Crossroads Mall. Nothing confirmed on the ground, but we're noticing a little kink in the radar here, so near Hawkeye Community College. So if you're in the Waterloo metro area, go ahead, head to your safe place, which is the lowest level of your home. So if you have a basement, head to the basement, get something to cover your head to keep you from getting any debris flying around, if there is any. If you are not in an area that has a basement, head to the bathroom or an interior closet somewhere where there's not windows. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible, as this potential tornado is near the Waterloo metro area. As Mark was mentioning, we did have a report about 10 miles south of Hudson of a tornado on the ground, or a tornado not on the ground right now, as storm spotters have been kind of reporting back to us. We currently do have a crew that is heading out in the storm safely to see what's going on, but there was a report of a tornado near Highway 63 and Rhinebeck Road just south of Hudson. This was probably about 10 minutes ago or so. So this has had a history of producing a tornado and continues to race very quickly off to the northeast at about 45 miles per hour. So if you are in Black Hawk County, if you're in Waterloo, Dewar, Washburn, Dunkerton, please seek shelter immediately. We're likely seeing some heavy rain just out ahead of this potential tornado. So right now the rain is probably starting to fall in Dewar and Dunkerton. That's not the worst part of the storm. It's heading your way, and it's heading your way very quickly. So you'll certainly want to seek shelter immediately if you are in portions of Black Hawk County.
And these storms are moving. Brandon's got something over there. Go ahead, Brandon.
So it sounds like we do have a picture of this tornado when it was near the Hudson area, sent in by a viewer. And here it is now. You can kind of see a little bit there on your screen. And this is heading towards Hudson on 63. You can see the tornado coming down there, nearly touching the ground, according to this picture. And what we've noticed so far with some of these tornadoes that we've been seeing just outside of our viewing area to the west and southwest are kind of hopping. They touch down very quickly and then they hop back up. And that may be happening right now. Obviously, that tornado warning still in effect until 6:30 p.m. And you can see just how quick this storm is pushing to the northeast, about 45 miles per hour. It was in Hudson just a few minutes ago, and now we're already seeing it in the Washburn area and just over I-380. So obviously, this is moving very, very quickly. Let's send things over now to Chief Meteorologist Mark Snackenberg.
We've got a report of a funnel cloud near Amesboro in Waterloo. We're getting reports of a funnel cloud near Amesboro in Waterloo. So if you're in Waterloo, areas near that, so you need to be taking shelter at this point. Evansdale, if you're in the Evansdale area, need to be taking shelter at this point. So please do this now. This is a situation that can change rapidly. We've been talking about how the conditions will deteriorate very quickly, and this is the situation that we're dealing with. So if you live around the Dunkerton area as well, this storm is heading in your direction. We've had reports of a funnel cloud. The last report in Waterloo, near Amesboro, and it continues to track toward the northeast fairly quickly. We're talking 40, 50 miles an hour, so there isn't going to be much time here. And these are storms that have a potential to produce a tornado very quickly. And so we're going to deal with this here for the next couple of hours as this line of thunderstorms moves into an environment that is very unstable, and that means the conditions are right for a tornado. So if we look at this here, we've got this thunderstorm. This is the tornado, storm with the tornado as it continues to track toward the north and east. But even down in here, that area also, anything along that has the possibility of producing a tornado. So any of these parts of this line of thunderstorms has a potential for a tornado. And then there's some more down here that are starting to pop up, and they're going to race to the north and east. Good news is, once this is passed, the threat for severe weather is over for your location. But until that does, we are looking at the threat for severe weather to continue. So we're still under that tornado warning for Black Hawk County. There's Waterloo, so there's the potential for the storm to be near the Washburn area over towards Dewar, and this will continue to track very quickly on toward the northeast at about 40 to 50 miles per hour. These storms are racing through the region. We go back to the other reflectivity, if we could show you the bigger picture here, across the entire region, just the whole DMA, to show you, give you some perspective of where this is. So there's the line of thunderstorms as it moves eastward. Anything to the west of that, the threat for severe weather is over with. Everything to the east of that, even though you're not on the watch across our northern counties here, I think you have the potential for a tornado or at least severe thunderstorm as well. So keep that in mind if you're living across our northern counties here. So Vinton 605, Olwine 611, looking at Center Point at 621 and West Union at 630. Rough estimates on the timing of that, and that continues to track toward the northeast. So all these areas, most of eastern Iowa, still have the threat for a tornado, and this tornado warning is in effect for Black Hawk County, including Dunkerton, Elk Run Heights, Evansdale, and Waterloo. And we had a report of a funnel cloud in Amesboro in Waterloo. That's the only report we've gotten so far. Kyle,
we continue to get reports of funnel clouds on the east side of Waterloo. So currently no reports of a tornado touching down. But again, this storm has had a history of producing a tornado near the Hudson area. In fact, downstairs, if you can pull up a couple of pictures we've gotten through email. There we go. There's another photo here that we got from one of our viewers. This is just off Highway 63 in Hudson, and this was about 15 minutes or so ago. And you can clearly see that tornado on the ground. And then there's that other photo that we see off to the right on the screen heading to Hudson on Highway 63. So you kind of see that little rope tornado there on the ground. Currently, we have not had any reports of the tornado on the ground, or no reports of a tornado, but you can see from those pictures on your screen that this has had a history of producing a tornado, and there have been several funnel clouds that have been spotted on the east side of Waterloo. So if you are in Waterloo, even though this is tracking to the east, stay in your shelter place. Washburn, Dewar, Dunkerton, Jessup even, I would stay in your shelter place, lowest level of your home. And you'll notice that we also have another severe thunderstorm warning that has just been issued for a couple of the storms just south of Waterloo. So we will go ahead and get you updated on that. So this is a very quickly changing situation as these storms are racing very quickly off to the northeast.
Downstairs, if we could go back to radar, please.
So yeah, we'll switch over here.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Brandon.
So it looks like they have issued a rather large severe thunderstorm warning here for many, many counties. Let me pull this up real quick. And so we've got this for Benton, Buchanan County. This is getting in towards 6:45 p.m. is for that new severe thunderstorm warning. And this will be for 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts and hail just about 1 inch. It's just a little less than an inch, but mainly for those winds. It's going to get really, really windy with wind gusts up to about 60 miles per hour. Let's go over to velocity right now, and we can kind of take a look. It tells us how strong the winds are. Of course, we still have that tornado warning in effect. And that you can see the rotation just a little bit as it kind of, you see the greens and reds coming close together. And we'll put a little marker here for you. Right at the bottom of this marker is where we'd likely see a tornado or a funnel cloud, anything like that. And then, of course, we have those very strong winds on the south side of that tornado warning, where we have that severe thunderstorm warning in effect. And you can kind of see right through here the bright colors that indicates very strong wind gusts, again up to about 60 miles per hour, capable of producing some damage. So that's the latest update there.
And we're getting information and some pictures and some video, and Kyle's got some of that. He's going to be able to show us on the plasma in just a second as they downstairs pulls up that video. I believe it's near the Rhinebeck area that we got some video of the tornado.
And that is just south of the Hudson area. So that's where we initially heard the calls on the scanner, or the reports on the scanner of this tornado on the ground. And we've been tracking these storms here over the last half hour or so ago, and we were just commenting how quickly they were strengthening as we're kind of getting a more favorable environment as that warm front moved through. And we started hearing the reports on the scanner, heard of some damage around the Hudson area, and shortly after that is when that warning came out. So we've had several viewers who have emailed us some pictures, also giving us a couple of videos, which we'll take a look at here in just a moment. But this line of severe storms moving through, as you saw, continues to track east very quickly. So here is the video of that tornado. This is off of Highway 63 there in near the Rhinebeck and Hudson area. So this was about 15 minutes or so ago. And I know it's very hard to see here on the plasma screen, but it's right about there where we see the tornado. So if we can go ahead and take this full screen, it's probably easier for our viewers to see. This video was sent in, again, just about 15-20 minutes ago, and you can clearly see the tornado right there in the middle. That I guess we would call this kind of a stovepipe tornado. Just goes straight from the cloud to the ground. These are very low clouds, so it didn't really take much rotation, which we got a lot of that in the atmosphere, to get that tornado to touch the ground. The good news from this vantage point, looks like this is in a very open area, so hopefully we're not hearing too many reports of damage. We do have a crew that is heading out to this scene as the storm has now cleared the area, so they're safe to do so. But we did hear reports on the scanner near Highway 63 and Rhinebeck Road in Hudson of a little bit of damage. So once we hear from our crews out in the field, we will certainly continue to keep you updated on that. But this is a very quickly changing system moving through, as we've had, again, a report of a tornado around 5:45 in the Hudson area. Hudson area is now clear of that tornado warning. Waterloo, you are now clear of that tornado warning as well. But that tornado warning does continue here for the next several minutes. We're talking until 6:30 for portions of Black Hawk County, so this would include Dewar and Dunkerton. And then we do have, sounds like we do have some live pictures or some sort of live video coming in. So, Meg, where are they located? Vinny Lowry and our photographer Daniel Hampy are out in the Hudson area. I'm assuming this is Hudson, right? Okay. we're figuring out where exactly they're located here, but clearly we can see that there is just a little bit of damage
Looks
here.
like 63.
We're Highway 63.
63, because you can see the Budweiser plant there. So 63 in Ridgeway is where they are located.
So we can see just a little bit of damage there. You can see the Casey's. It doesn't look like extensive damage, so that is certainly some good news. But they, of course, are in an area that is dry right now, so they are safe from this potential tornado, which is now off to the northeast of Waterloo. But fortunately, from this vantage point, doesn't look like too much damage at the time being. But again, it was about 20 minutes to a half hour ago that we were getting reports of a tornado that was causing a little bit of damage just south of Hudson. So we are going to continue to stay on air with you until this threat is over. If you're in the Dewar and Dunkerton area, stay in your shelter place, lowest level of your home. If you don't have a basement, which is obviously the best place to be, perhaps head to a interior room or a closet. Looks like we're getting several more pictures of a tornado coming in. This one is, I'm assuming, is this Meg? Is this in Hudson as well? Looks like we don't have a location, but this is probably that tornado that was near the Hudson area. You can see that in the background there, in between those vehicles of that tornado.
And even that, yeah, we're talking about, yes, that would be the tornado location, but when you're looking at the picture, you really can't see the ground.
Yeah.
So we're going to assume that that would be maybe touching the ground for a short period of time, because you can see in the foreground you got the vehicles as well as some sort of vegetation there, and so you really can't see the actual part of the funnel cloud actually touching the ground. So yes, there probably will be a tornado there, but you can't say definitively 100% that that would be a tornado. It could be a funnel cloud that may be coming close to the ground.
And we've seen with these storms, too, they've touched down briefly and then go back up. So, yes, there have been some tornadoes reported. Doesn't look like they've been on the ground for a very long time, so they're probably just kind of skipping back and forth from the cloud down to the ground. And this might be one example of maybe a transition between that. So we've seen that with the history of these storms as they've been out to our southwest.
Before we go back to anything else, can we go to Max 1? I just want to show you the severe thunderstorm warning that still remains in effect for the area. So this is a threat for a severe thunderstorm with winds in excess of 70 miles an hour, as well as some large hail. This warning is a large one. It's extending until 6:45. So that would be included portions of Buchanan County. I'm going to put a track on this. You see the track on this. It's moving. These are moving fast, 40, 50 miles an hour. So over towards Independence at 6:17. Rowley will be at 6:23. A little bit farther to the south here that we look. Let me move this and take that off for a second. Let me move the storm here, and you can see the storms are individual. So when they sit by themselves, they become a bit more of a risk for a threat for severe weather when it comes to tornadoes. So something to keep that in mind. Again, these storms are right on the edge of that, the leading edge of that severe thunderstorm warning. So this is Benton High School at 6:11, Vinton at 6:14, Newhall will be at 6:20, and Cheney will be at 6:21. And this storm will continue to move in the easterly direction and northeasterly direction at about 50 miles an hour. So some very heavy rain. So we're going to go from no rain, it's going to be quiet, and then heavy rain where the visibility will be reduced for a period of time, and then we're back to dry conditions back to the north and west. It looks like the tornado warning has been canceled.
So they have canceled that tornado warning. It was scheduled to go until 6:30, but obviously with these storms moving very quickly, that area that was under the tornado warning in Black Hawk County is no longer threatened. So luckily we've not heard any reports from spotters of a tornado being reported. But these are still some pretty strong storms. Meg, we did get some pictures in on the Storm Track 7 Facebook page of some hail near Elk Run Heights. So this severe thunderstorm, or this line of severe thunderstorms that continues to track east, does have the capability to produce 60-mile-per-hour winds as well as hail, potentially up to the size of quarters or larger. And based on the Storm Track 7 live Doppler radar you're seeing, anywhere you're seeing those pinks, that's likely where we have that higher reflectivity, which would indicate that potential of hail. So potentially just to the south and east of the Dunkerton areas where we would be talking about maybe a little bit of that hail. So continue to take these storms seriously. Even though we have no tornado warnings, this line of storms is capable of producing some damage as far as any hail goes. in effect. This is actually an observed tornado, so we've got this on the ground, potentially producing damage. This was extending from near Fairbank to near Mount Auburn, moving northeast at 60 miles per hour. So if you're in Fairbank, Hazleton, Independence, Jessup, take shelter immediately. Lowest level of your home, we're talking a basement, the best place to be. If you do not have a basement, head to an interior room with no windows. You want to put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Take something to cover your head. If there is flying debris, you want to be protected from that. But this is now a tornado that has been observed by storm spotters, and this tornado warning is in effect until 7 o'clock for portions of Benton and Buchanan County, and we're getting a decent return of rotation on our velocity scan.
Yeah, you can see that right near the Jessup area. So those that are in around Jessup right now over towards Independence, pretty much most of Buchanan County, this is the area of concern right in here. That's the possibility of a tornado right there just southeast of Dunkerton. So you're in the clear when it comes to Dewar, Washburn, LaPorte City. That storm is to your east and moving rapidly, as Kyle had mentioned, quickly toward the east, and it is going to be a storm that we will continue to monitor. It's changing colors because we're changing radars here as we go from Black Hawk County covers 1, La Crosse, and then Davenport. So we're right in that spot that the radar is going to change colors but shows similar information. And that storm just north of Jessup. Brandon, go ahead.
If we could take me on the wall, please. So you obviously that really strong rotation, the greens and the reds really close together, right? So this is coming from the Quad Cities radar. So you got the reds going that way, the greens going that way. That's probably where the tornado would be. We've had some viewers also call in and tell us they're not hearing the tornado sirens. These storms are moving really, really quickly. In fact, they're kind of escaping those warnings as they issue them because they're moving 50 to 60 miles per hour really, really quickly to the northeast, right? You don't want to rely on the tornado sirens themselves because those are meant for people outdoors. More so, so we're just seeing these storms moving really, really quickly. And so just wanted to mention that we don't have those sirens maybe going off in some areas. That's what some viewers have been reporting. But obviously, this is a really strong signal for that tornado right there. Kind of right on the radar edge. That's what you're seeing with the purples there, kind of obscuring that just a little bit. But where you get those reds and greens, that's where that tornado would be circulating. Again, moving really, really quickly off to the east and northeast. You get the next radar update there, and you still see that quick rotation just off to the north of Jessup. It kind of in between radars there. That's why you see it changing colors. But again, you're also going to see the very strong wind gusts. These things are moving really, really quickly. And we also have that severe thunderstorm warning just off to the south of that tornado warning as well. That's mainly for the wind gusts. We've had some reports of that hail. And you can kind of see the extent of that line. It's kind of building more off towards the south where we have a little more juicy air, if you will. Some warmer temperatures, a little more moisture. And so we're seeing those storms growing more off to the south. And then pushing off to the east and northeast, we have a warm front right about there, giving us a lot of instability with this storm. So you see that nice line kind of developing right off of that, and it's moving very, very quickly. Of course, that watch still in effect until 9 p.m. Does include areas along and south of Highway 20 and then pushing towards the southern portion of the viewing area. And so we may still be seeing these storms lingering for the next few hours through the evening until 9 p.m. That's when that watch will remain in effect. But of course, that pretty large tornado warning there. And we have seen that throughout this line, those storms really developing, the rotation developing within that storm, and that's why you get that tornado warning issued really, really strong there as we continue to see that moving off very, very quickly. I can't stress this enough. You won't have a whole lot of time to prepare because these storms are moving 60 miles per hour. So you may see the warning issued and then it's over you within the next few minutes. Make sure you're taking cover in a basement interior room. Try to cover yourself up with pillows, blankets, mattresses, anything like that. And we're going to send things over now to Kyle. He has a little more information for you.
And thank you, Brandon. And yeah, that latest tornado warning for portions of Benton and Buchanan County goes until 7 o'clock. The latest report from storm spotters is that this tornado has been observed. It's not radar indicated, so it has been sighted on the ground, so if you are in these areas, seek shelter immediately. As we mentioned, we first got these reports just south of Hudson at about 5:45 of a tornado doing some damage. We had a picture out of our live video out of Waterloo, the south side of Waterloo, near Ridgeway and Highway 63, where Storm Track 7 reporter Vinny Lowry has been. He is reporting that some of the street lights are out, and I do want to clarify, we were showing live pictures there earlier of that Casey's. I had said that it looked like there was some damage. There was not damage at that Casey's. It, in fact, was under construction. I realized that after I had said it and was off the air. But so far, we've not heard of any reports in that area of any damage. But it does look like power is out. So we've got this live video here at Highway 63 and Ridgeway in Waterloo of power out. You can see those street lights are out as well. So if you're in that area, you're likely without power due to those storms that did move through a little bit earlier. Again, the tornado threat for the Waterloo, Hudson, Cedar Falls area, that is over with. We are more concerned now of the potential of damage in portions of Buchanan County, where we have had an observed tornado just to the east of the Dunkerton area. So if we can go ahead and switch back over to Storm Track 7 live Doppler radar, you can see where we have that tornado warning flashing there. Benton and Buchanan County until 7 o'clock. This includes Fairbank, Hazleton, Independence, and Jessup. This is what we are continuing to track for that potential tornado. Again, right about 6:13, we did get the report that the tornado was on the ground, potentially doing some damege.
Did it give you any specific on that? Was there anything specific on
There was nothing
location?
specific. Nope. It said along a line from near Fairbank to near Mount Auburn down to the south, moving to the northeast at 60 miles per hour. So there was nothing specific about that tornado, but it was observed.
And we are getting a bunch of pictures and videos into our weather page. It looks like maybe a video and some pictures of some funnel clouds just north of Elk Run. Evansdale on Osage Road is one video coming in. Looks like some others by Myers Lake, perhaps Hammond Avenue. So we've had quite a bit of sightings of some funnel clouds, or maybe that tornado briefly touching the ground.
And we certainly appreciate the photos and the reports from viewers because, again, this is a very fast-changing situation, and it really helps us when we can actually see what's going on, because obviously being here in the studio, we can't always see it. We can only see it on the radar. So we just got an update on that tornado warning, which is why it's flashing there on your screen or on our radar. So there continues to be a reported tornado, and at about 6:20, tornado-producing storms were located along that line extending from near Fairbank to the Brandon area, and they're moving northeast at 45 miles per hour. So there's not any specific location that it's being reported at, but it still is saying observed. And based on our radar, we have not, or we've definitely been seeing that rotation there in Buchanan County.
And there's a new severe thunderstorm warning now for Fayette County, including Arlington, Olwine, as this storm continues to race toward the northeast. So damaging wind in excess of 70 miles an hour possible, large hail a potential. In a very short period of time, we're going to get a lot of rain as well. And there's not a whole lot of lightning on the north side of this line, but there's a lot of lightning associated with this part of the line that's moving through Buchanan County, and that will continue to track off toward the east rapidly at about 70 miles an hour. So, or excuse me, 50 miles an hour. Winds in excess of 70 miles an hour are possible, and these will continue to track in that direction. So we're watching this very carefully as the storms now start to approach the Independence area over towards Winthrop, Quasqueton. Farther to the south, you're seeing toward Brandon. If you're in LaPorte City, the storm is now ending, so once the rain tapers off where you are in the clear. Waterloo, Cedar Falls, your threat for severe weather is over for the rest of the night as that line of thunderstorms moves, the line with thunderstorms moves to the east, and we have this area down towards Van Horn, towards Blairstown. Still officially in that warning, but Elberon, Belle Plaine, those areas, you're in the clear as the storm moves toward the east. Back up to the north, again, we have this tornado warning for Buchanan County, and this is in effect until 7 o'clock, so it's pretty much the whole entire county. And then just north of that into Fayette County, the southeastern half of the county, southeast of Fayette, under a severe thunderstorm warning.
And we just did get a report that there have been multiple wall clouds being reported near the Independence area. So this is just Independence. You're right on the edge of these storms. So now is the time to take shelter. There have been reports of some rotating wall clouds, which are kind of the precursor to a tornado. So seek shelter if you are in Independence, if you are anywhere in Buchanan County. Seek shelter as this is a potentially dangerous storm producing a tornado, at least one tornado, and potentially some heavy rain and some hail up to the size of quarters of potential as well. We did just get a report of a tornado at 618 on the ground near Baxter Avenue and V56 Road in Fairbanks. So that's in Buchanan County. That is the latest report of the tornado near the Fairbank area. So there has now been confirmation of that tornado in Buchanan County near Fairbank. That was at 6:18, so several minutes ago. So if you are in this area, please continue to seek shelter. There has been multiple reports of a tornado with this line of storms. Again, it did start near between Rhinebeck and Hudson, probably about 5:40 or 5:45, and this continues to race off to the northeast between about 45 and 55 miles per hour. So this doesn't really give you much time to react. So even though you're not seeing anything in Quasqueton or
But we did see a little bit of damage. We'll show you that just right now. We actually saw the street lights at West Ridgeway intersection with 63. They're actually out, and they've actually been out since we've seen them around 6 o'clock. So you can see cars are currently stopping and going, pretty much acting as a stop sign. We actually on our way over here to West Ridgeway. We did see cars pulled off to the sides, and we did see a few wall clouds along with a few funnel clouds in our area. No longer here, though, that we see. And the clouds have moved on a little bit away from the West Ridgeway area, but this is just a little bit of the damage that we're seeing. It's just on the streetlights that we're seeing right now. We'll throw it back to you in the studio. Reporting in Waterloo, Vinny Lowry, News 7, KWWL.
Okay, thank you so much for that report, Vinny. Again, as you can see in the Waterloo area, that threat has now moved off to the east. Right now, it's Buchanan County that is really under the gun for that potential of a tornado. Brandon.
Yeah, so if we could take the wall, please. So we've had that report of a tornado in the Fairbank area, and you can kind of see as we look at the velocity here, again, we're not in a great spot with that radar, but you can tell that there is that distinct difference between the reds and the greens there. That's what we look for, that couplet, and that indicates that rotation. And we are seeing that in actually a few multiple spots, one maybe right there, just along, what is that, Highway 20, just west of Independence. Again, these storms moving really, really quickly, so it might be here for the moment, then you get that radar update, and it's already pushing off way off to the east. So these are moving really, really quickly. It looks like maybe that couplet not very strong there anymore. Maybe, though, indicating some strong winds with that cell and that line of storms pushing through. You get the brighter colors indicating the stronger winds. And I think maybe, Mark, there was a little something off to the north there with that radar couplet. We've been seeing that at times, but again, we're not in a great location with that radar. That's why I keep switching colors here, because we're switching radars. But not looking like much here. Not really easy to tell out where that tornado would be. Of course, this is a really long tornado warning just because the storm's moving really, really quickly. And you see a really intense cell there, again, just off to the west of Independence. That would indicate maybe some larger hail, really heavy rainfall within that storm. So we're probably looking at some pretty good sized hail right there in the purples, the pinks that you see there pushing towards Independence, and probably just off to the east, northeast of there, moving into Otterville. and along just some of these other highways. But again, this is looking like a pretty intense system right now. Of course, still under that tornado warning, still under, I believe, that severe thunderstorm warning, so both at the same time. So we've seen the reports of funnel clouds within here, that rotation certainly going on, getting into that better environment for those storms and those tornadoes. And that is why we have both of those warnings in effect right now. Kind of a triple threat there with the winds, the hail, and also the potential for some tornadoes as this cell continues to push off to the east and maybe more so the northeast very quickly, up to about 60 miles per hour is what I think we've had so far with the system. And of course, it's a really long line as well. We're seeing this, of course, this cell right here in Independence, and we're getting storms all across portions of eastern Iowa. So again, just a situation that we're keeping a close eye on. Just make sure if you're in that tornado warning, you've had the alarms going off, that you are in your basement, away from windows, because we're getting all sorts of threats here with the tornadoes, the winds, the hail. And just make sure you're in your basement, and if you can cover yourself up with a pillow, blanket, anything like that to kind of soften the blow just a little bit, that is a great idea. So we have a picture right now out of Independence. Looks like maybe a shelf cloud pushing through. Nothing in terms of a funnel cloud or anything like that that I can notice.
Brandon, I actually have a closer vantage point of this, and I'm looking pretty closely. It looks like maybe in the middle of the screen there might be a lowering of the cloud, but it's very hard to tell because it's actually obviously backlit a bit by the sun there. But it does look like there might be a little bit of a lowering there, but from a picture standpoint, it's very hard to see if that's actually rotating. But we have had reports of some wall clouds in the Independence area, which is the precursor for a tornado. So if you are in Independence, do stay in your shelter place. If you're listening to us, looks like that rotation might be very close to Independence there, along Highway 150, just to the west there. So northwest side of Independence, likely under the gun right now for that tornado. So if you're listening from Independence, seek shelter immediately. As Brandon was just mentioning, take something to cover your head to protect yourself. This storm's moving very quickly off to the east-northeast, or off to the northeast. So if you're in the Winthrop area, seek shelter. Again, this tornado warning does continue until 7 o'clock. And it's important to note that this line of storms has really kind of been off and on producing tornadoes with it. So even if you're in that severe warned part of the storm in portions of Fayette County as well as into Benton County, treat it as if it were a tornado, because this is a very quickly developing situation here. In fact, we got viewer reports of a tornado before it even really was reported by the National Weather Service. So,
and it looks like maybe a new tornado warning issued for
Fayette County.
There we go.
County,
We got Fayette County. This is a radar indicated tornado with the potential to produce some 1-inch hail. So that's about the size of the quarters. It was located near Olwine, moving northeast at 50 miles per hour. We can kind of see with that reflectivity, kind of got a little hook shape, what it looks like. So this is, again, radar indicated tornado where we've got that little cursor there. That's likely where we have that potential tornado. So it's kind of between Fairbank and Olwine there. So if you are in Fairbank, Hazleton, Olwine, over toward Maynard, Arlington, even Strawberry Point, Volga, seek shelter immediately. This has the potential to produce a tornado and is moving very rapidly off to the northeast at about 50 miles per hour. So as I was mentioning, this area was just under that severe thunderstorm warning. We want to treat all warnings as if they are a tornado in this particular situation. We have a lot of rotation in the atmosphere, so it's not going to take a lot of low-level rotation to get that tornado to be reported and potentially cause some damage. We're also looking just south of Hazleton, potentially some hail up to the size of quarter. That actually looks like a pretty slam dunk for some hail between Hazleton and Independence there on 150.
Yeah, usually when we get the coloring up to the purple color that you see there, that's usually large hail, 1 inch in diameter or larger. So that has been around just to the west of the Independence area, and that continues to move toward the east. So if you're in that location, we are looking at some very heavy rain, as well as the potential for some hail heading over towards the Lamont area.
And we actually just got a report near Otterville in Buchanan County of golf ball sized hail, and now we have a confirmed tornado on the ground on the Fayette County line just south of Olwine. So if you're between Hazleton, Fairbank and Olwine. We do have a report of a tornado potentially causing some damage, so it's kind of right on that Buchanan County, Fayette County line. You need to seek shelter immediately and stay in your shelter place. This is heading right toward Olwine. So if you are listening to this from Olwine, if you're watching it on TV, turn your volume up, take the Storm Track 7 weather app, the news app, open us up, and we will keep you updated. We just got a report from the National Weather Service of a confirmed tornado on the Fayette County line just south of Olwine. So seek
Kyle,
shelter immediately.
if I could here on the wall
Sure.
for a second. So you see Olwine there on the map, and some of the lower reflectivities here where you see the oranges maybe, that's probably an indication that we're seeing the tornado in that area, again, just south of the Olwine area, kind of where it's a little more orange or yellow here, a little weaker on the reflectivity. We typically see that when you have a strong updraft, and that's when things start to rotate and you get that tornado. And I would imagine there's not much showing up here again on velocity just because we're in between those radar sites. So we have a pretty good idea where that tornado would be. Of course, that tornado warning in effect, not looking at much here, but probably if there was a tornado, which there was a confirmed one on the ground, we would have it right about there, just pushing into the Olwine area. So if you're watching this from Olwine, make sure you are in your basement, your safe place, and in your shelter, because it looks like it's heading right for the Olwine area as these storms move really, really quickly off to the northeast. I think Kyle has something. We'll send it over to him.
Yeah, unfortunately, Brandon, with this storm we're talking about, we just heard, if we can go back to the radar real quick, we just got word of a large tornado that is causing damage just to the, let's see, this is about 6:33, so about a minute ago, about 2.5 miles southeast of Fairbank. Causing some damage, but we're not really getting too many details on that damage. But again, this is that storm that we were talking about close to Olwine that is quickly moving off to the north and east. So we have had a report of a large tornado that has caused damage, and that was the reason why we got that issued tornado warning into portions of Fayette County. So if you're in the Hazleton area, if you're in Olwine, Lamont, please seek shelter. This tornado has caused some damage, and it is now a reported large tornado that is causing damage just to the south of Olwine and to the east of Fairbank. Fairbank looks like you're getting to be pretty much in the clear. Olwine, you are most certainly not in the clear. Please seek shelter immediately, and you have to take shelter very fast because this is a certain situation where these storms are moving very, very quickly.
Yeah, Kyle,
at about 40 to 50 miles per hour.
And this storm, this tornado is probably right over Olwine right now based on the data that we have, but we only get scans every few minutes. So it's likely that what you're seeing here is a little delayed. It's probably a little more out to the northeast of where we're seeing that rotation. So it's probably, obviously, it moved through Fairbank and into the Olwine area, and we're going to see it pushing more off to the northeast of Olwine here pretty quickly. Again, we've seen these storm motions probably 50 to 60 miles per hour, and that's going to obviously move very, very fast.
And Brandon, just as you took over, exactly like you said, this is located over Olwine, moving northeast at 50 miles per hour. So as we've been saying, this is not giving you much time to react. So if you're watching from Volga, Strawberry Point, Olwine, Arlington, please do seek shelter. We are getting the latest track on this. It's pretty much right over Olwine High School right now, heading toward Wings Park at 6:36, and then Brush Creek Canyon State Park at about 6:51. So this is moving very quickly off to the northeast. So if you are in Olwine, please stay in your shelter place. We have had reports of a large tornado that is likely causing some damage. So please stay in your shelter place, lowest level of your home. The best place to be is obviously in a basement, but if you don't have a basement, find a closet, maybe a bathroom. Take something, huddle the kids in a bathtub. Take something to cover your head to protect yourself from damage. And we just got word that the sirens in Arlington are going off. That's great news. These are only meant for people outside. So if you're hearing those sirens, obviously you want to stay inside and seek shelter immediately. Maynard, Fayette, seek shelter right now. Schnack.
I do want to show you the big picture here because we don't want to forget everybody else that's dealing with this thunderstorm complex that's moving on through the region. We still have some thunderstorms that are just south of Davenport. We are looking at thunderstorms that are located near let's say west of northwest of Cedar Rapids. These will continue to move to the northeast. Anything west of those storms, anything west of this line right in here, The threat for severe weather is over. So keep that in mind. So stop this here. Anything to the left or west of this, the threat for severe weather is over. Anything east of that line still has a possibility for severe weather. And as this line continues to lift to the northeast, that threat continues with large hail, damaging wind, as well as a tornado, which has been confirmed so far just south or near the Old Wine area. And this continues to move to the northeasterly direction. So you need to be taking shelter now. You want as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Get underneath the stairs, get underneath a bench or a table. If you can go downstairs, that's even the best, into a basement. Grab the bicycle helmet. Maybe you still have the football helmet hanging around, baseball helmet. Grab that and head down to the basement. That is where you need to be. You want to protect your head at all costs. Grab a book, grab a pillow as you go down there into the basement. Or if you don't have a basement, the lowest level of the interior room, interior part of the building, and a small room, a closet, maybe a bathroom, a bathtub if you can get in the bathroom. So keep that in mind if you are in this area. We have 2 tornado warnings that are in effect right now, one in Fayette County and the other one in Buchanan County. And you can see the thunderstorms as they move through Independence. The last report, we had a confirmed tornado near or in Old Wine, and it is moving to the northeast quickly. So those that are in the path northeast need to be taking shelter now. Fayette, Highland, these areas need to be on the lookout because these storms are moving fast. 50 miles an hour, damaging wind. Keep in mind, 58-mile-an-hour wind speed is considered severe thunderstorm. So even if the storm is producing a 10-mile-an-hour wind, it's racing at 50 miles an hour, and you've got a severe thunderstorm there on top of the threat for some very heavy rain. And this rain is coming down. It is blinding rain, reducing visibility at times. Notice near Old Wine, then the storm is now starting to move to your north and east. Orrin, you're in the clear. Dunkerton, you're in the clear. Jessup, you're also in the clear. Independence, still threat for severe weather under that tornado warning. This extends southward here as well. I notice this looks like it's an extension here of that tornado warning that now extends down into the northern parts of Benton County, and this will continue to move eastward. So in Benton County is the northeastern part of the area. Mount Auburn, you're in the clear, but Vinton, you're probably too close yet to give you an all clear there. Over towards Walker, not officially in the warning, but this storm is heading in your direction. Quasqueton, storm, it looks pretty dark, probably off to your west, and that will continue to track to the northeast. Looking at this storm as it continues to head towards the Lamont area, large hail as well as some damaging wind. It's starting to bend a little bit right in here, and so when it starts to get sort of that backward C shape, then you start to see a little bit more wind in that location. So yeah, we have large hail, damaging winds, as well as that isolated tornado threat. And that tornado threat now is heading up towards the Maynard area, over towards Fayette. Last report was in Old Wine, and it's moving northeast.
And we just got an update on that storm near the Old Wine area. We did have spotters report that tornado just for a few minutes along the Fayette County line near Old Wine. Right now it looks like it's broadened out just a bit, but with this storm having a history of producing a tornado, it certainly bears watching. And as Mark was just mentioning, it looks like we're starting to see this bow out, so it could turn more into damaging wind. But regardless, this storm has had a history of doing damage. And with that tornado warning in Buchanan County, we got kind of a delayed report, but at about 6:29, so this was about 15 minutes ago, I did get that report in Buchanan County, just northeast of Littleton, of a tornado on the ground doing some damage. So this has had a history of producing a tornado and continues to move very quickly off to the east and northeast at about 50 miles per hour. So we're going to continue to stay on the air with you, tracking this storm. It looks like the worst of the storm, that tornadic storm in Fayette County, has moved east of the Old Wine area, but we're going to keep a close eye on you folks in Clayton County. Right now the storm is pretty much near Maynard and Fayette and just south of West Union, but these are racing very quickly off to the east-northeast. So Strawberry Point, Louanna, Elkader, Guttenberg, Manchester, please seek shelter right now as this storm is moving very quickly. This will be around Starmont High School at about 6:45, Highland 6:51, Strawberry Point 6:56, Alcator just after 7 o'clock, Clayton Center at just about 7:10. So an update on that tornado warning for Benton and Buchanan County. That will continue here for about another 18 minutes or so. This is for a radar indicated tornado, so we haven't had a recent report of a tornado being observed.
Kyle.
It's certainly capable of producing some tornadoes. Brandon.
So it sounds like we just got off the phone with the EMS in Buchanan County, and it sounds like just southeast of Fairbank, where we had that observed tornado, is fairly significant right now. Just wanted to point that out. And then I had a video of somebody's sent me south of Waterloo on Burrow, some damage. It looks like maybe a barn damage there. So I'm trying to get that video sent over so we can look at that a little later.
And that usually is what happens. We usually get the storms, we talk about the radar, and these will continue to move to the north and east. And so the greatest threat right now, still with the threat for a tornado, is including much of eastern Iowa. So it's this point eastward up to about Clayton County, should be just southeast of the Decorah area, and eastward. So this, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. We'll give you a perspective of what's going on here. So the threat for severe weather right now is going to be this area for us. That is what's left for the threat for severe weather. We've got the wind shift already out of Iowa City and Washington. Front is drifting through. We've got these thunderstorms that are now in through northern parts of Benton County, Buchanan County, as well as Fayette County. These will continue to move in the northeasterly direction. And as the storms roll on through, sometimes they produce the damage, and then in time, after people assess the damage and its safety, then we wind up with some pictures and photos. And again, I please emphasize to you, do this safely. Do not get out in advance of the storm system. Do not do it while it's happening. Go to a safe place and make sure you are safe first. After the fact, then okay. But please, we are doing this we want to stay on the air. We will stay on the air until the warning and threat is over. We want you to be safe. As these storms roll on through the area, we don't want you going outside and taking these pictures as the storm is approaching you. We want you to be safe. After the storm passes, then we're okay. Then you can, hopefully there isn't too much damage, and we can be able to get through this pretty easily. But right now there is that threat for severe weather. A couple of tornado warnings. This one is until 7 o'clock, and this one is until 7:15. So we will remain on the air for another half hour until the threat for severe weather, or threat for tornadoes, is over. So this storm is rapidly moving to the north and east. This is until 7:15 as an update on that warning. That's what happens when it starts flashing on our radar. Lets us know that the National Weather Service has an update, and Kyle has that.
So far, luckily, we're not seeing any report of an observed tornado, but the radar is still indicating some rotation in that storm, potentially producing a tornado. The storm currently located over Maynard, 8 miles northeast of Olwine, moving very quickly off to the northeast at 45 miles per hour. I just got an update on this storm, and it looks like from spotters' viewpoints that the tornado has lifted, but there's still a wall cloud, which, as I was mentioning earlier, that's that rotation and lowering of the cloud, so it's kind of a precursor to a tornado. That was pretty evident just east of the Westgate area, and we are now getting reports of extensive damage at Red Gate Park on the west side of Olwine. Lots of trees down. Nothing else to report there, and you know, our newsroom's been working hard, taking phone calls and calling around, and we're getting a lot of reports on the southeast side of Fairbank of some pretty extensive damage. You know, it's still very early after that tornado tracked through, so we are continuing to keep track of that potential tornado. Brandon.
If we could look over at the plasma, please, and we have some video in from Olwine. It's only a short clip here, but doesn't look like maybe you can really see the tornado. It's potentially rain wrapped in there, which means the tornado is obscured by the rain, which makes it even more dangerous because you can't really see it. But here's that video again, full screen for you, and looks like, oh yeah, you can see it right there actually, just a little bit towards the end of the video here. Right about there, if you look right in the center of your screen, maybe something coming down there. So touching the ground, that's probably where that tornado is. So that's just a quick look at what we could be dealing with here as the storm moves rapidly off to the northeast. Again, this video from Olwine just a few minutes ago. the storm rapidly pushing off to the northeast at about 50 miles per hour.
And Brandon, you know, we continue to talk about this Olwine storm. So this is a storm which is pretty much right over Maynard right now. If we can take Storm Track 7 live Doppler radar, we're keeping track of the north line of this storm, but also we want to keep track in Buchanan County. We're just getting reports of a funnel very close to touching the ground just about a minute ago near the Independence area. So if you are in the Independence area, especially just to the south, we have had a report of a funnel cloud. So this line of storms continues to produce not only the potential of some damaging wind and some hail, but also the potential for a tornado. So we'll go ahead and look at the velocity right now just to kind of see if we can get any. And unfortunately, we're kind of in between 3 radar sites, but there you go. This report of rotation just south of Independence matches up very nicely with the radar. This is the area where it's broad rotation, but it's rotation nonetheless. And we did get a report from a storm spotter that there was a funnel cloud very, very close to touching the ground, which would obviously be a tornado. So Independence, Winthrop, please stay in your shelter place. If you're in Rowley, stay in your shelter place as well. This is a very strong storm capable of producing a tornado that is moving very quickly off to the northeast at about 45 miles per hour. Also getting some reports of some rotation here just to the west of Strawberry Point. I'll circle that area for you right around the Arlington area along Highway 3 and Highway 187. If you're in these areas, please seek shelter immediately. This is a very dangerous storm that could be producing a tornado here at any time. Again, the latest update just a few minutes ago, no observed tornado, but based on radar imagery that we're seeing, we are certainly seeing that potential for those tornadoes to continue to move off to the northeast at about 45 miles per hour. Brandon.
If we could please take me again at the wall, and if we could go back to velocity here. I'm kind of looking at it on my phone as well. It gets a little, you can see that rotation just to the south of Arlington, kind of on the northern portion here near the Strawberry Point rotation, and it looks a little intense on velocity. And you can see that line here. Of course, that tornado warning still in effect. And here's that velocity. If we can zoom in maybe to like this area right here. Right near the Strawberry Point area. And so there you can see the rotation maybe just a little bit. This is near Starmount Road, I believe is what that says. And you can see the blues, the greens kind of coming together. So this is just south of Arlington, pushing off to the northeast, again, about 50 miles per hour. So there's some defined rotation in there. And we have seen that rotation all up and down that line of storms as we've been watching it track very quickly to the northeast. So again, that tornado warning still in effect. Storms moving really, really quickly. If you're in that Arlington area, this will be pushing towards the Elkader area probably within the next 20-30 minutes or so, and we'll also see it in the Volga area and just off to the northwest of Strawberry Point.
And Brandon, I'll go ahead and put a track out on
Sure,
this
yeah.
because it looks like this is going to move out of that warning area as you were just mentioning. So we'll go ahead and put a track out. So this is moving very quickly off to the northeast, 45 to 50 miles per hour. So if you're in the Strawberry Point area, 6:59, so just about 9 minutes from now. Elkader at 7:02, Manchester at 7:10, and then heading toward the Mississippi River at Prairie du Chien around 7:19. So I wouldn't wait till these specific times in these areas. This storm's moving very fast, so right now is the time to take action. Just got an update here for that tornado warning in extreme northern Benton County as well as Buchanan County. Still radar indicated this storm was about 6 miles southeast of Hazleton near Walker, moving northeast at 45 miles per hour. Mark?
Yeah, that looks like west of Quasqueton. Looks like there's some little tighter circulation there north of Rowley as a possibility for that tornado in that vicinity. A little tighter, a little more spin possibly in that location. That will continue to track toward the north and east. Again, these are moving fast. There's these 2 storms that are part of this line that continue to move in the northeasterly direction. We're getting some reports, seeing on our Facebook page posts, some damage near Amesboro and Waterloo. And we've got pictures that are just rolling in, so bear with us. We're getting on as fast as we can, and we'll keep the information. But the concern would be just northwest of Quasqueton, north of Rowley, and southwest of the Winthrop area. would be the latest on that circulation as it moves to the north and east. So therefore, that tornado warning does remain in effect for Buchanan County. The threat for severe weather looks like it'll be weak or lessening over towards the Independence area, and that should be here pretty shortly. So some good news in that account. Anything west of this line, again, once those showers pass through the area, the threat for severe weather is over. But anything to the east, we're still looking at areas around Prairie du Chien over towards Elkader, Dubuque, Cassville, Edgewood, Dyersville. Even as far south as Monticello and Anamosa still have a threat for some severe weather, and we're looking at the possibility for there may be one little shower that's starting to pop up just northeast of Iowa City.
And we just got a new tornado warning out for Clayton County. This does include Garnavillo, McGregor, Strawberry Point, and the Elkader area. So we'll go ahead and zoom in on this. So this is kind of an extension to that area in portions of Fayette County, including Olwine, which we're getting several reports in Olwine of damage to trees on the west side of town. Spotters
Kyle,
obviously did report the tornadoes.
We do have some pictures from Olwine if they want to pull those up real quick. Pretty well-defined tornado from that Olwine area. They're from 4 East, is that what?
So we'll get those pictures up for you here real quick, but we'll want to get you up to date on the track of this storm in portions of Clayton County. Just got a new tornado warning for portions of Delaware County as well. So we'll get to those pictures here in just a moment, but first we want to get you up to speed with the latest warnings. This new warning for Clayton County is in effect until 7:45. This is for a radar-indicated tornado and could produce 1-inch size hail. Again, we're going to get you up to date with these latest warnings here. This storm was located over Arlington, or about 12 miles southwest of Elkader, moving very quickly to the northeast at about 45 miles per hour. So this will be in Osborne around 7:04, so just about 10 minutes from now. Elkader at 7:05, Clayton Center at 7:12. Beulah at 7:14. So now is the time to take action. Do not wait for these specific times. These storms are moving very quickly.
And they also just extended,
That storm in Buchanan County continues to produce a potential tornado. This tornado warning for portions of Buchanan and Delaware County also goes until 7:45. This is also for a radar-indicated tornado. This was, again, moving very quickly to the east at about 45 miles per hour. So this is just to the east of Independence, affecting the Rowley and the Quasqueton area, moving very quickly off to the east. So this will be in Dundee around 7:04, Manchester at 7:11, Maquoketa Valley High School at 7:20, and Dyersville at 7:31. So if you are in these areas, seek shelter immediately. We have had reports of damage in portions of Buchanan and Fayette County from at least one tornado. So we are going to obviously have some crews that head out there and get a look at that damage, but we want to stay ahead of that damage as well into portions of Clayton and Delaware County, where we do have tornado warnings in effect until about 7:45. So we're going to continue to stay on air with you until these storms do kind of subside a bit. But these storms are in an environment where we have that warm front, as Brandon was talking about earlier. The atmosphere is very unstable. There's a lot of spin. So this is certainly producing the potential for some severe weather and tornadoes. And briefly, we'll kind of get you area wide here and show you what's going on off to the north. If you're in portions of Chickasaw, Winneshiek County, we have some non-severe thunderstorms, so just your regular thunderstorms producing lightning and heavy rain. West Union, you're likely getting in on that rain as well. But again, the focus right now is on the tornado warnings for portions of Fayette, Clayton, Buchanan, and Delaware County. The newest ones for Clayton and eastern portions of Buchanan and then portions of Delaware County goes until 7:45. So we're tracking essentially two different areas. We're tracking one area that is just west of Elkader, north of Strawberry Point. We are also tracking that potential just to the east of Independence around Quasqueton and Rowley. That is tracking off to the east and northeast very quickly at about 45 miles per hour. So we're going to look at a couple scans of velocity here, and again, it gets a little muddled because we are on two different radar sites, but right near or just north of the Buffalo Creek area in portions of extreme eastern Buchanan County, this area that I've just circled where we've got the green and the reds coming together. By the way, we're looking at the wind inside the storm, so the green is going toward the radar site in the Quad Cities. The red is the radar or the winds going away from that radar site. So when you've got those converging winds or those opposite directing winds. That's where we have that rotation, and actually just the latest rotation does show a more ominous sign or stronger sign of rotation. So just east of Independence, around the Buffalo Creek area, that is where we have that potential for a tornado in portions of Buchanan County, and that continues to track off to the east into portions of Delaware County. So be aware of that as well. And then as we head a little farther to the north, looks like just north of Strawberry Point near the Volga area, this is an area right now that we are looking at the potential of rotation, and the difference in the colors here are the radar site. We're now in the La Crosse, Wisconsin radar site, so that's the differentiation of the colors. But that area that I just circled is that potential of a tornado. Again, these warnings are radar indicated tornadoes, but it's very important to note that we have had multiple reports of damage with tornadoes coming out of this storm. So it's a situation, as we were mentioning earlier, where that tornado might touch down for a few minutes and then go back up in the cloud and then touch down again. So it's very important that if you are out ahead of these storms to stay in your shelter places. These are moving very quickly off to the north and east. So again, if you're around the Volga area and then just to the east of Independence, that's the strongest line of the storm, or strongest part of that line of storms. I'm going to go ahead and put a track on the entire line of the storms, moving very quickly off to the east and northeast at about 45 to 50 miles per hour. This will be in Elkader in just a few minutes at 7:02. Clayton Center, 7:07, Manchester at 7:12, Guttenberg, 7:25, just before that there in Prairie du Chien, Dyersville at 7:35. Mark.
Getting a couple of reports of some wall cloud, or multiple reports of wall cloud near the Independence area. So if you're in that vicinity, getting confirmation there from spotters that are on the ground. So please, if you're in that area, be careful. Also had some pictures that will be getting up on the air at some point around the Elk Run Heights area of it looked like either a funnel cloud or a possible tornado, but wouldn't be able to see that because, again, it is not reaching. You can't see that because there's stuff in the way, so you can't see the bottom of that funnel cloud. You can't really give it definitive that is a tornado. But these storms continue to race toward the north and east. We have multiple tornado warnings that are in effect. Some of them have been confirmed tornadoes. Some of them are radar indicated. And the threat for severe weather remains here until these storms pass the Mississippi River. So that threat will continue here for the next probably 45 minutes to an hour. That tornado warning for Benton and Buchanan County, or parts of Benton and Buchanan County, has been allowed to expire as of 7 o'clock. So there's some good news on that account as these storms continue to move to the north and east and race really fast. So
yes,
these things are scooting along there pretty quickly. All of a sudden, it's not that bad outside, and then the storm continues, or the storm rolls in. Very heavy rain, some damaging winds, some large hail, and then 30 minutes later, it's gone, and that is it. So that would be the threat for severe weather. It would be over for that time frame. So you can see the track on that storm takes it to Elkader. So Elkader, it's knocking on your door there. Right now, 7:03, Clayton Center, 7:08, Manchester, 7:17. Looking at Guttenberg at 7:25, Bloomington 7:38, and Dyersville, that'll be at 7:41. That's as the storm continues to move in the northeast. That is pretty much the entire line, because south of that, it doesn't look like very much is happening down in that area, correct?
Correct. And we'll go ahead and take a wide view, because I know a lot of you, up in Decorah and then down towards Cedar Rapids, Iowa City, wondering what's going on. We're just seeing some general thunderstorms elsewhere across the viewing area, and these are continuing to move off to the northeast. But Waterloo, New Hampton, sorry about that. Waterloo, New Hampton, back toward Tama, severe weather threat is over. We're likely going to see that wind pick up behind this low pressure and some showers here later tonight. But of course, we continue to track the tornado warnings that are in effect for portions of Clayton, Buchanan, Delaware, and Fayette counties. The latest tornado warnings do go until 7:45, so we're going to be with you here through at least that time. As Mark was mentioning, we've had reports of confirmation of tornadoes and reports of radar indicated tornadoes. Right now, we have not heard of any tornado being seen right now, but there's certainly some rotation that has been reported, at least a couple of areas of rotation being reported on the radar. So we're going to continue to track these storms for you. We'll stay with you here on the air through about 7:45. I just got an update to the tornado warning in Clayton County, and that's that flashing you see on your screen. This is still radar indicated, so hasn't been spotted, but it was storm capable of producing a tornado located over Volga near Elkader, tracking to the northeast at 45 miles per hour. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer to that storm, and we'll kind of pin down where we could see the track of that. So it's right over Volga and near Elkader. I'm going to throw the velocity up here so we can kind of see rotation. And again, I would say near the Volga area, just west of Elkader, this is likely where we have that tornado, if there is one on the ground. And again, it is moving very, very quickly off to the northeast at 45 miles per hour. So I'll put a track on the strongest part of the storm. Currently, it's right over the right north of Strawberry Point, tracking very quickly off to the northeast. This will be in Osborne around 7:05. Elkader again, pretty much the next few minutes at 7:07. Clayton Center at 7:13. Garnavillo at 7:22. Pikes Peak State Park around 7:25, and Prairie du Chien around 7:29. So this is again that storm capable of producing a tornado in Clayton County, continuing to race quickly off to the northeast at about 45 miles per hour. Also, obviously, the main concern here is for a tornado, but this storm also has the capability of producing quarter-size hail. So obviously, you just want to stay inside, seek shelter, lowest level of your home. That is the best place to be. If you don't have a basement, head to an interior room or closet, head to the bathroom, put something over your head to kind of protect yourself from potential damage. Again, we've had several reports of damage in portions of Fayette County near Oline, as well as into Buchanan County around the Fairbank area.
The one in Clayton County there, that's got some pretty intense wind with it, even if it's straight line winds
yes. There's that updated scan.
So if you look at just east of Volga, so if you're in Littleport, between Littleport and Elkader, which this has got some real strong wind with this, that will be heading in your direction. So the wind is going to increase very rapidly. Intense winds could be in excess of 70 miles an hour with this. So even if there's not a tornado, this straight line wind potential could produce some damage in that area. So areas that are around the Volga region, over towards Elkader, St. Olaf, Farmersburg, Garnavillo, Littleport, all should be taking shelter now. You're under that tornado warning already, but there's also some pretty strong wind. Even if it's not the tornado, we've got some very strong wind that right there that is moving to the northeast that will cause or could cause some significant damage. In addition to that, some very heavy rain at the same time that the wind kicks up. So it will be blinding rain, visibility being reduced quite a bit here for a short period of time in that location. And if you are in Elkader right now, it looks like the strongest portion of that cell is right to your south, but it's heading northeast, so stay in your shelter place. The threat is not over. Strawberry Point, you're likely seeing that wind pick up just a bit. There's likely some blinding rain. That's going to continue to be a threat here as we head over the next half hour or so. And again, we're keeping a close eye on this potential tornadic situation where tornado warnings continue for Clayton, Buchanan, and Delaware County until 7:45. So we are going to continue to watch this very carefully. Just got an update from the National Weather Service. Looks like the circulation nearing Fayette seems to have weakened, so that is certainly some good news. But we're continuing to watch that circulation just to the east of Volga that Mark was just mentioning for the potential of not only a tornado, but even if there's not a tornado, some damaging wind. Yeah. Go ahead, Brandon.
Oh, I was just going to say, if you could take the wall for a second. And on the reflectivity there, I wanted to just check. There's a little notch right there in the reflectivity. Is that where that matches up with that velocity? Just
Are you talking just south of Elkader?
Yeah, just right about there. Just curious if that... Oh, so okay. I guess it's a little more north. But yeah, that's some pretty strong rotation there. Obviously, with the blues and greens together, that's going to push off to the northeast. So this is just off to the east of Volga with that tornado warning in effect until 7:45 p.m. Maybe we can just zoom out just a little bit. And so, again, this is pushing kind of towards the Elkader area. So if you're watching from Elkader, make sure you're taking shelter here pretty quickly. And Kyle, if we could just do the entire, go ahead and track it out
I'm just
for a second.
Out, yep.
And so there's a track on there. So Elkader about 7:06 p.m. We'll see it Clayton Center about 7:12, Garnavillo close to about 7:20, Clayton 7:25. Don't take those numbers directly because this storm moving really, really quickly, probably 45 to 50 miles per hour. But it gives you some kind of idea of just how quickly that storm is pushing off to to the east and northeast, you won't have a whole lot of time once that storm is over you. So you use that as your warning to get into your basement now and make sure you take shelter. And if we could get back to the reflectivity and maybe the whole DMA maybe. And you can see just how quickly these storms are moving. This is only an hour loop, and it's made its way from Waterloo to its current location within that 1 hour. That's about 45 miles, 50 miles. So that's how quickly that storm is pushing. It doesn't leave you with a whole lot of time if you're on the east side of that line as it makes its way towards the Mississippi River. So that's one thing we're kind of concerned about with that storm, is how quickly it's moving. Obviously, we have seen some pretty strong winds in here, some large hail at times, and also that rotation indicating the potential for some tornadoes within this tornado warning. Again, there's the track for you. It's moving off to the east. So again, Clayton Center about 7:11. Coffins Grove County Park, 7:15. Manchester about 7:20. Pikes Peak State Park about 7:23. And then you get down towards Guttenberg, 7:35 p.m. And again, moving pretty quickly to the east. A couple different areas with that tornado warning. You got, of course, that distinct area going off to the northeast, which includes the Elkader, and you see that rotation right about there. Looking really strong here, I'd say, with the blues and greens coming together. This is near the, is that Highway 13 there?
Yeah, Highway 13.
So that's right over Highway 13. Again, pushing more to the Communia. Is that, am I saying that right? Hard for me to say just a little bit, but near the Elkader area as well.
So pretty much between Elkader and Littleport, that is where, if we have a tornado, that is where that would be right now.
Right, yeah. So that's that very strong rotation. And again, we have seen that line. There's two different distinct tornado warnings. If you want to go off to the southern portion here, you know, maybe a little bit of some rotation there, kind of hard to pick up just south of Lamont, pushing towards Dundee. And so we are seeing just some very strong winds in there as well. The color is really bright. So that's those straight line winds that Mark was talking about. You can get those wind gusts up to about 60 miles per hour, maybe even more than that at times. So there's multiple threats here that we're watching out for. Of course, we're on with you until the tornado warning is over, but we're also seeing the potential for some large hail with the higher reflectivities here, the brighter colors, and also some strong winds, as you can kind of see that line kind of bowing out maybe just a little bit, and that's an indication that there's some strong winds pushing in behind there. And those are the straight line winds where you get them up to about 60 miles per hour, perhaps even more at times, in addition to that tornado threat. So here's another look at that track as it pushes off to the east and the northeast. Again, one thing we want to stress, it's moving really, really fast, 45, 50 miles per hour. There's not going to be a whole lot of time if you're on the east side of there to take shelter. So again, if you're watching this and you're kind of in the Clayton Center, Guttenberg areas, Pike Peak State Park, if you live near there, take shelter now because the storm moving really quickly off to the east. And you can see the times here associated with each city. Don't take those exact times to heart, but gives you a fairly good idea with how quickly the storm is traveling.
And the good news is that Fayette County warning is going to cancel here. So that was expiring, or supposed to expire at 7:15. That's canceled simply because these storms are moving very quickly. So there's no longer any threat of a tornado there in Fayette County. But we have heard several reports of damage around the Oline area and then just to the southeast of the Fairbank area. So these storms continue to race off to the east at about 45 miles per hour. So if you are in portions of Clayton, Buchanan, Delaware, and I would say even portions of Dubuque County, go ahead and just take it easy, take shelter, lowest level of your home, as these storms continue to move very quickly and could produce, if not a tornado, some very strong winds that are enough to do some damage.
Yeah, and it's in the Elkader area that those storms are really rocking and rolling there as it heads towards Farmersburg, St. Olaf, Carnavillo, even into southwest Wisconsin, Prairie du Chien, Bagley, those areas. It's heading right towards you. So even though you're not underneath that warning, whether it's a severe thunderstorm warning or tornado warning, I would be taking shelter now, making sure you've got a little bit of time to get to your safe place, because this is coming in your direction. So even though, again, you're not under that severe thunderstorm or tornado warning, at this point, the threat of a storm is coming in your direction. Some very heavy rain for a brief period of time. We've got damaging wind with this. I haven't seen any additional reports of hail lately.
Yeah, the
from
latest report, I believe, was in Clayton County of 1-inch hail, but yeah, lately it's
most
just been...
of these been straight line winds reports or tornado reports. So we haven't had a whole lot in the way of any hail from these storms.
So right there, what I have on your screen circled there, that's Elkader. That is the strongest part of the storm, where we're likely getting those very strong straight line winds in excess of 60 miles per hour. That's also the area right along Highway 13 between Elkader and Littleport, just to the east of there. That is where we could potentially have a tornado, and this is very, very close to that warm front. So that's where we have added spin in the atmosphere, where we could get that tornado. So looks like County Highway X3C, and then heading toward Clayton Center, Garnavillo. Please stay in your shelter place. This is a very strong storm that continues to track to the northeast and could potentially produce a tornado, which is why we have that tornado warning in effect until 7:45. So Elkader, stay in your shelter place. The worst of the storm is to the east, but you still have some heavy rain and lightning. Clayton Center, you are on deck. Garnavillo, St. Olaf. Please stay in your shelter place, even up toward Farmersburg, Prairie du Chien, Marquette, McGregor. Stay in your shelter place as this storm is really racing off to the northeast at about 45 miles per hour. Wanted to touch base here on the Buchanan County warning, kind of give you where we're at on this one. Looks like the highest area of rotation, or the greatest rotation, is east of Lamont, kind of between Highway 13 and 187. This is north of Masonville and Manchester. Still seeing some signs of rotation where we could see potentially a tornado. Just a couple minutes ago, we did get an update on that warning. You probably saw the flashing. This was near Lamont and tracking off to the northeast at 45 miles per hour. This is also down to the south near Troy Mills, moving very quickly off to the northeast. So if you are in the Edgewood area, Oneida, I would say even Masonville and Manchester, stay in your shelter place, as this storm does have the possibility of producing a tornado. Just got the latest velocity scan. Again, this is the wind inside the storm. Looks like we don't have as much of an indication of rotation, but it certainly is still there. So we continue to keep an eye on that here.
Look downstairs if we have any photos or videos that are coming in from any of these storms that are passing on through.
And just wanted to mention that area of rotation we were just talking about is right over the Dundee area. So if you were seeing any rotation, it would be right over that town. And also, it looks like we have a few more storms. Okay, it sounds like we're looking for some photos to pull up here for you to look at here pretty soon. It looks like we have some more storms bubbling up. Nothing severe right now, but on the south side of that line, kind of over the Solon area towards Mount Vernon and the Martell area. So those storms getting a little more intense, not severe right now, but maybe some heavy rainfall in there. So we're definitely keeping an eye on those storms as well, because that is in the moist air south of the warm front. There's a lot of moisture, a lot of winds going on in that area, so we're going to watch that area closely as well. And
we'll just take a look at the velocity real quick. Doesn't look too concerning, but you know, we're obviously going to keep a very close eye on that. So Monticello, Anamosa, heads up. You're going to get some heavy rain and some lightning here over the next several minutes, as that storm also continues to raise very quickly off to the northeast at about 45 miles per hour. So we'll kind of give you an overview of the warnings here. Currently, we have warnings in Buchanan and Delaware County until 7:45. This includes Earlville, Manchester, Oneida, and Winthrop. And then you head a little farther to the north in Clayton County. The storm is pretty much right over Elkader, heading toward Garnavillo with some very, very strong winds. So if there's not a tornado, there's definitely going to be some very, very strong winds with this storm. And again, it has had a history of producing tornadoes. So we're going to zoom right back down into those storms for you and show you kind of the locations, get a closer view. It does look like near the Lamont area, we had a report of a funnel cloud. So that's down in Buchanan County. Brandon was just mentioning that rotation near Dundee. If you are in those areas, seek shelter, as we have had a report of a funnel cloud here within the last 10 minutes or so. We'll go ahead and put a track on this storm. Again, this is a tornado warning, radar indicated for portions of Clayton, Buchanan, and Delaware County as this moves off to the northeast at about 45 miles per hour. So this is pretty much near the Coffins Grove County State Park. Manchester at about 7:25, Delaware at 7:33. Guttenberg, you're not officially in any warning, but hey, take shelter right now. These storms are moving very quickly off to the northeast, so it's very important that you take these storms seriously, as you know these are moving very quickly and you don't have much time to react. So if you are in the Guttenberg area, take shelter now. The storm should be there just after 7:30. Looks like the tornado threat is going to end pretty quickly once this line moves through, as we have a little bit more stable air behind it. But the threat is real in portions of Clayton, Delaware, and Buchanan County. So if you are in these areas, stay in your shelter place, which would obviously be the basement. If you don't have a basement, interior room or closet, head to the bathroom, get the kids in the bathtub, cover your heads with something to potentially kind of get away from any injuries that you could get.
And they're dropping some of the watch, so if you look at the watch, you can see some of the counties that are dropped now. The threat for severe weather, again, once that storm passes through, your tornado watch is, the threat is no longer. So Black Hawk County, Tama County, areas towards, let's see, Grundy County, areas to the west. So the threat for severe weather, even though, again, when we talk about a watch, the watch means in and around the watch area. That yellow shaded area has the potential for severe weather. So as you can see, not officially in the tornado watch in Fayette and Clayton County, but the threat for severe weather is there. And we've had some damaging wind. We've also had a report of a tornado in Fayette County. So when we say a watch, that's we got to cut it off at some point at a county line. So the threat is in and around the watch area. But now that the threat is over farther to the west, as the storms move on through, that's when the threat is no longer on the west side, but still areas to the north and to the east, even into southwestern Wisconsin, still has the threat for some severe weather as we see that storm move from Clayton County northeastward. So we're still watching this, and we still have the potential for some severe weather. I think mainly east of Cedar Rapids, it looks like at this point as well, in addition to areas to the north. There hasn't been a whole lot development farther to the south yet. Yeah,
there has. And you know, you bring up a good point about that watch. Clayton County not even in the watch, and we have a tornado warning. So, you know, a lot of people do look at their county. You know, we were doing a Facebook Live earlier, and they were saying, oh, Fayette County's not in it. Well, Fayette County got a confirmed tornado, so that is why, as Mark emphasized, we always say in and around these watch areas.
Brandon?
Kyle, so I'm looking at that storm that's off to the south of all the warnings.
Oh, sure.
That's near the Mount Vernon area. Maybe trying to develop a little bit of rotation just to the southwest of Martell.
Oh, yeah, okay. I see what you're saying.
As that cell starts to develop just a little bit. So, again, keeping an eye down there. So maybe a little bit of rotation. As you can see, the reds and the greens pretty close together. Yeah, so right where that arrow is. So no warning on that system just quite yet. But, of course, it's in that tornado watch. It's in that prime zone for the severe weather. So just want to keep an eye on that as well. But, of course, we have those other tornado warnings in effect.
So, yeah, in the Anamosa area, we want to continue to watch that storm. You know, even though it's not producing a tornado right now, certainly some lightning with it and some very heavy rain as it continues to track northeast. Got a continuation of that tornado warning into portions of Buchanan and Delaware County. So from Lamont down to the east of Quasqueton, Manchester, Ryan, Oneida, Winthrop, you all want to stay in your shelter place as this tornado warning does continue until 7:45. And then just got the update there. You see that flashing red on your screen in portions of Clayton County. This storm is near Garnavillo, just to the west, moving very quickly off to the northeast at 45 miles per hour. And this storm still continues to have the potential of producing a tornado, especially here where we have the strongest rotation between Farmersburg and Garnavillo.
Getting a report from around the Olwine area. Damage to an apartment complex on the south side of town. Nobody was injured, nobody trapped, so good news there. Everyone made it out to the basement safely, so everybody's okay in that vantage point. This is Buffalo Creek Apartments, trees down at the Redgate Park as well. So getting some reports of some people that are up in that area. So thank you for sending those in. To the region to pass this along.
Yes. And Brandon was just pointing out that storm near Martell. We just got a new tornado warning on that until 7:45. This is for a radar indicated tornado. So as we were just showing you a few minutes ago, we had that storm just south of Anamosa near Martell, moving very quickly off to the northeast at 45 miles per hour. So we want to seek shelter if you are in Anamosa, Fairview, Lisbon, as well as Monticello. So some of these same areas we were just saying, could potentially see a tornado. We'll get you a little bit closer on this storm and show you where that rotation is. Again, it's right around Highway 1, just south of 151, where we have that rotation. Just north of Mount Vernon near the Martell area. So this is the area that could potentially see a tornado. Also within this storm could see some hail. So we want to keep you aware in portions of Linn County, east of Cedar Rapids, as well as portions of Jones County, including Anamosa and Monticello. These areas are where we could potentially see that tornado. Looks like that highest area of rotation, or the strongest rotation, is just to the southwest of Anamosa, just to the south of Highway 151, right along Highway 1. So this is moving very quickly off to the northeast at about 45 miles per hour. So if you are in these areas, please do seek shelter immediately. We'll go ahead and put a track on this storm, and I'm actually going to start this north of Mount Vernon, and we'll go ahead and throw the radar on here, because even though you're seeing the rain right now in Anamosa, this is not the tornadic part of the storm. So you still want to stay in your shelter place, lowest level of your home, as we continue to track this strongest portion of the storm right near the Martell area along Highway 1. This is tracking quickly to the northeast at about 45 miles per hour. So this will be around Wapsipinicon State Park at 7:27, Anamosa at around 7:28, so just a few minutes from now. Scotch Grove around 7:41, Cascade around 7:53. Of course, that's getting into southern Dubuque County. So if you're watching us from Dubuque County, keep a close eye on this storm. We're keeping a close eye on the storm for you. Just seek shelter, just as a precaution, because these storms are moving very quickly off to the northeast at about 45 miles per hour. So just west of Martell is where we are seeing that potential of a tornado, as we've been talking about for the last 5 minutes or so. We did get a report in Fayette County, so this was about 20 minutes ago, of a funnel cloud approximately right around 7 o'clock. So that is that storm that's now into portions of Clayton County. So again, if you are in these areas, you want to seek shelter immediately. Good news for Buchanan and Delaware County. If you're watching from Manchester, I would still stay in your safe place, but looks like the tornadic part of the storm has weakened, so we're not looking at as much of a tornado threat as what we were just looking at. But if you are watching from the Manchester area, I would still stay in your shelter place. So I want to actually get a look at inside the storm. We're looking at the velocity here in Clayton County. And it looks like just to the west of McGregor, Marquette, and Prairie du Chien, that's where we have some very, very strong winds. So just to the east of Farmersburg, this is the area right here where we could have 60 to 70 mile per hour winds and that potential of a tornado. So the reason why we have these tornado warnings issued is because we have the warm front that is pretty much draped over this area, and along the warm front is where we have converging winds, and they're moving very quickly and changing directions as you go up in height. So you get that rotation near the ground. That's where you get that potential of a tornado. So that tornado warning for portions of Clayton County does continue until 7:45 this evening. And I want to take you back to the radar, and we'll show you that there's a lot of heavy rain with this. So if there is a tornado, it potentially could be rain wrapped based on where we're seeing the location of that rotation. We go farther south. I don't think I indicated that the potential of a tornado does continue until 7:45 for extreme eastern portions of Linn County heading into Jones County. Looks like Jones County is going to be our primary concern at this point in time. Anamosa, Fairview, Lisbon, and Monticello, you want to be in your safe place right about now. Looks like right south of Highway 151, southwest of Anamosa is where we have that rotation. We're looking at the velocity, which is the wind inside the storm. So the reds that you're seeing are outbound winds. So those are the winds that are actually heading toward the northwest, away from the radar site in Davenport. The greens, which we're not seeing much of, which is good news, that would be the winds going away from the radar, or I'm sorry, toward the radar site in Davenport. So where you get those to meet up, that's where we have that rotation, and that is where we have that potential tornado. So that is a location where we haven't had a confirmation of a tornado, but certainly it's a possibility. And we're continuing to watch the storm up in Clayton County. Again, several reports of funnel clouds. Also some reports of penny-sized hail near Monona.
And that storm's about to approach the Prairie du Chien area. And
we'll get you zoomed out here.
That's going to... You'll see the radar here in just a second as the storm starts to approach those that are in Prairie du Chien. Just to the southwest part of the County. You can see it moving through Elkader and now heading towards Prairie du Chien. Some very heavy rain, even up towards the Rossville area, the Elkader area, looking at some severe weather. And that will continue to track northeast very quickly. So Guttenberg, you'll get the tail end of this. Threat for severe weather is over in Decorah, as well as New Hampton, most of Fayette County for the rest of the night. But we've got still running from Delaware County there, just the western part of Delaware County, and into, I'd still say Cedar Rapids and Iowa City, maybe a threat. But the threat is diminishing fairly quickly. There's some showers and thunderstorms back around the Fort Dodge area, but those are going to be non-severe. The severe ones are going to be ones that are to the north and east. So where that severe thunderstorm warning or tornado warning is in for Linn County, the southeastern Linn County, and areas to the northeast still has a potential. So in the Dubuque area, Crawford, Grant County, yes, we're looking at some pretty nasty weather as a possibility as these storms move in the northeasterly direction.
And now we're running into the difficulty of having two separate warnings in two different areas of our viewing areas. So we're going to kind of bounce back and forth and give you the latest information. We continue to track this potential tornado in now portions of Jones County, moving out of Linn County into portions of Jones County. We're really looking between Anamosa and Martell, pretty much right over Highway 151, where we have that potential of a tornado. And I'm going to put that arrow right where that rotation is, essentially just north of Highway 151 on the southwest side of Anamosa. So if you are in Anamosa, stay in your shelter place. There is a potential tornado, and it might be a case where this tornado touches down pretty quickly and then goes back up into the cloud and maybe a few minutes later touches down again. But right now we have not had that confirmation of a tornado in Jones County, but we've been watching the storm for the last 20 minutes or so, and it has certainly shown some signs of rotation, and it's a little concerning that it is out on its own, very close to that warm front. It's those isolated storms or lone storms by themselves that really can soak up all of the energy around it in the environment to where we could potentially get that tornado. So we'll put a track on this part of the storm. Monticello, stay in your safe place. Looks like around the high school, Monticello High School, to be there around 7:46. Anamosa area right about now at 7:30. And Dales Ford at 7:51. So new severe thunderstorm warning issued for Crawford and Grant County into Wisconsin. So that's that storm that we'll just go ahead and check out in portions of Clayton County. As Mark was just mentioning, those storms are approaching the Prairie du Chien area, and they are moving very, very quickly. I want to get a look at the winds as well. So pretty much right over Prairie du Chien and perhaps toward the Marquette and McGregor area. So that's where we are likely seeing the very, very strong winds. In fact, right around Pikes Peak State Park, this very dark blue shading, this is likely where we are seeing those winds in excess of 60 to 70 miles per hour. And again, we're right near that warm front, so we are still looking at that potential for a tornado. So that tornado warning continues for the next 15 minutes or so. We'll see what the National Weather Service does with this. But the storm is now approaching the Mississippi River, heading off to the northeast, and that's prompted that severe thunderstorm warning for Crawford and Grant County. And I want to point out, as I was mentioning earlier, if you're under this severe thunderstorm warning, take it as serious as a tornado warning, because this is kind of tagged with a tornado is possible, just due to the fact that we're close to that warm front with the higher area of rotation, and the fact that we've had a history of this line of storms producing a tornado. So it's very important that you stay in your shelter place as these storms are packing quite a punch.
Those in Cedar Rapids and Iowa City still have the threat for a tornado, just because the atmosphere is still very humid. It will be, once you'll notice if you're outside, because there's no storms near right there, but at Cedar Rapids and Iowa City, you'll notice the humidity level drop off very quickly here in the next half hour to 45 minutes. It is very muggy out there. Dew points are running in the low 60s, how we measure the moisture, and then behind it they drop down into the 30s. So it will be a lot more comfortable in a short period of time in our southern counties. So that's what we're watching. Once the humidity level drops off pretty quickly, then the threat for severe weather is really going to come to an end. So still Cedar Rapids, Iowa City, still some very muggy conditions. The atmosphere is still unstable, but the conditions to the east and north of that, the concern at this point as the low now starts to move into the northern portion of Iowa. So it's basically in the north central part of the state. So that's what we're looking at there. Go ahead.
just as quickly as, it warmed up earlier this afternoon, it's going to cool down and that humidity level goes down as well. Update on this tornado warning. Linn County now out of the tornado warning. Jones County, that tornado warning continues. Still a radar indicated tornado, so this has not been observed, but right over Anamosa is where we have that potential for that tornado. We'll look at the winds inside the storm, the velocity, and we're kind of looking for that red and green couplet, and I'm not really seeing too much of a sign. Maybe some broad rotation near Anamosa, right on Highway 151. But nonetheless, take this storm very seriously. Could potentially be producing a little bit of hail as well. We'll go ahead and throw the radar back up on here. And the storm developed very quickly in Johnson County. I think it was near Solon a little bit earlier that Brandon was pointing out. In fact, Brandon has a little more to add to this. Brandon?
Yeah, so I was just going to say if we could take the wall. That rotation on this cell that we're looking at here, it's not as strong. Obviously, we have the heavy rain in there from Anamosa towards Monticello, but the rotation is not as strong in that storm. Obviously, that tornado warning still in effect, and you can kind of see a little bit maybe of that broad rotation, but that couplet not very, very tight, which doesn't give us a good indication that there may be a tornado on the ground. It is possible because there is still that broad rotation, but not very tight at the moment. And I think on that northernmost cell, it's a good sign that the Weather Service opted for a severe thunderstorm warning as opposed to a new tornado warning. Just because there's not much of a sign of very tight rotation in there either. We are seeing some pretty strong wind gusts, though, coming out of that line of storms as it kind of bows around just a little bit, so you get the strong winds coming in there behind, and you see the new severe thunderstorm warning pushing into Crawford and Grant County into Wisconsin, whereas that tornado warning behind that line probably going to be expired here pretty soon. But again, not super tight rotation here. If we take a look at the velocity, it is very intense in terms of straight line winds. So you see the colors pretty bright there, looking like a little bit of blue in there. And then behind that, some greens, but again, very, very strong winds, perhaps up to about 60, maybe at times up to 70 miles per hour. But you're not really seeing that couplet when you look for the greens and blues together or the greens and reds together. There's just not much in terms of that rotation here as it starts to push towards Prairie du Chien and on the edge of that tornado warning. So I think that's a really good sign there in terms of tornadoes. Obviously, you still want to take shelter in here because there is that severe thunderstorm warning issued. There's going to be really strong, damaging wind gusts and maybe even some heavy rainfall. Hail doesn't look to be too big of a threat right now. We may see some in there. We're not seeing the very high reflectivities, though, at the moment. So I think really strong winds as we push that storm into Wisconsin. And then, of course, that tornado warning as it moves towards Monticello. We've seen it near the Anamosa area. But again, with that storm even, we're seeing the rotation not as strong as we start to maybe lose some of that sunlight and the temperatures. But things are still very warm out there, very moist. We still have that primed atmosphere for the tornadoes, for the severe weather, and more so on the west side of all of this, there's not going to be much of a chance for anything. It's more so where we're seeing those storms now, and then on the east side, as those storms move really, really quickly off to the northeast. So just wanted to point out those that rotation that we're seeing in the storms not looking as strong right now.
And that is certainly some good news. We certainly have seen that trend of those storms weakening, and we did get some late reports here out of Clayton County of some hail up to the size of quarters. I didn't want to ignore our friends in Almaquee, Winneshiek, and Delaware County, where we still are seeing some very heavy rain, as well as some thunderstorms. No severe weather for those locations, but we're still under the gun for some heavy rain and some lightning. I want to zoom in on this Delaware County storm, also get kind of a glimpse at that Anamosa storm. If you're watching from Dyersville, you want to maybe stay inside. Of course, I know a lot of you probably aren't going outside at this point in time, but you still want to be aware that these storms are out there. While they're not severe, they can certainly produce some heavy rain and some lightning. It looks like the south side of Dyersville especially might get clipped by this storm down in Anamosa. But Manchester, if you're watching us right now, you're probably hearing a lot of heavy rain falling, a lot of thunder perhaps. This storm is not severe. It's not producing a tornado. But it is certainly producing that heavy rain and maybe some small hail as it continues to track off to the north and east. So I want to go ahead and zoom back down into the Anamosa area. Looks like Anamosa, north side of town, getting hit right now with the potential of a tornado. Looking at the rotation, looks like, again, that broad rotation that Brandon was just talking about between Anamosa and Langworthy, right just to the west, kind of paralleling Highway 151. That is where we have that potential of a tornado. So some good news to report here. I'm going to back this back out. We'll take a look at the radar. Looks like the tornado warning in Clayton County, as expected, is going to expire here at 7:45. We continue with that tornado warning in effect for portions of Jones County, including Anamosa and Monticello. That goes until 7:45 as well. But still getting some very heavy rain and some gusty wind as well. And, you know, we've had reports of some damage as well. And, Meg, if you're ready for those pictures, we can take those at any time, or DJ. Our producers down in the booth who are out there gathering all of the information that we're getting from storm spotters, from our reporters, and from viewers that are safely sending in the email. We have had a lot of reports of some damage in the Olwine area, as well as just to the southeast of Fairbank into portions of Buchanan County. We've not heard the extent of the damage quite yet. I do know that we have some crews heading out, and of course I'm sure the emergency management is pretty busy as well. But we're going to stay on air with you here until these warnings expire. We just got word from the Weather Service in Davenport that the tornado warning in Jones County is going to expire. And right now, this is from our chief engineer, Dan Whaley. This is in Olwine on the west side. You can certainly see a lot of tree damage. Those tree branches are going over the roads. Of course, some of these county parks are closed due to COVID-19 going on. So hopefully people weren't out at this point in time and had enough warning. But just look at the extensive damage there. A lot of trees are down, and this is from that tornado. You can see a sign down there in the grass. So this just goes to show you how intense these storms were.
I'm guessing the National Weather Service is probably going to go out to this location here tomorrow to do an assessment, because there was a report of a tornado in the Olwine area. So they're going to go out and see if this was because of the tornado or because of damaging winds.
DJ, or the producer in the booth, can you go back to that picture that you just had? Yeah, there we go. Look at that tree. It looks like some of those branches on top of that tree were just snapped in half off the tree. That's just kind of shows you the intensity of that wind as that tornado did move through. Just a lot of extensive damage here. Again, we have not heard the extent of the damage. We're not really quite sure if you know, buildings were damaged, but we've had several reports into the newsroom of some damage in the Olwine area, as well as near the Fairbank area. Brandon.
And guys, it looks like both tornado warnings have been canceled or expired, so
yeah,
looks
so
like
they
we're good there.
Yeah, those will expire at about 7:45. We'll get a close look at the storm here in portions of Jones County. Looks like this is kind of riding along the northern edge of the warning here. But if you're watching from Monticello, looks like that tornado threat is winding down, which is good news, but still a pretty strong storm that could produce some gusty winds, perhaps up to 50 miles per hour or so. This is continuing to move northeast, so heads up if you are in the Cascade area. Hopkinton looks like this is going to stay off to your south. Dyersville looks like you might get some heavy rain. Epworth, some heavy rain as well. This is also heading up toward the Dubuque area. Again, we've got that warm front that is pretty much overhead, so we're going to continue to watch these storms very carefully for that potential of a tornado. So we're going to continue to watch these areas for you. So we're going to stay on the air, as is our policy, until these warnings do expire at 7:45, which, as we've been mentioning here within the last few minutes, the National Weather Service has done just that. If you're watching us from Delaware County, Colesburg, heads up, you are going to get some pretty heavy rain. Earlville, you'll probably clipped by this as well. This is currently the rain that is right along Highway 20 and Highway 13 near the Manchester area. So that continues to track off to the east and northeast very quickly. Strawberry Point, the rain is coming to an end. Your severe weather threat is over. Same can be said in Volga, Elkader, Garnavillo. You're seeing the heavy rain. That's going to continue here within the next probably 20 minutes to half hour or so. If you're in the Elkport area, Guttenberg, Colesburg, Cassville, just go ahead and keep an eye on the weather as these storms continue to track off to the east-northeast very quickly at about 40 miles per hour. So I want to give you kind of a statewide view of what is going on here. Again, the severe weather threat west of this line of storms that we see here in portions of northeastern and east central Iowa. This area right here, your severe threat has pretty much come to an end, which is certainly some good news. Still have showers and isolated thunderstorms. This is pretty much right where that low pressure is, so we'll keep those in the forecast here as we head throughout the overnight hours. Also, outside of these thunderstorms, that wind is really going to pick up, especially during the overnight hours into Sunday. Could have wind gusts between 40 and 50 miles per hour. Next.
Yeah, they're also already starting to pick up already in the central part of the state. So even though as these storms move out of the area, your wind may kick up here, and you're thinking, oh, wait a second, we're not done yet. Well, hey, I guess we're not done yet when it comes to any thunderstorms, but this is just general wind, and you can see how that's going to ramp up pretty quickly area-wide as we get into the night tonight. Winds gusting to about 45, maybe 50 miles an hour, and these are sustained winds that you're looking at between 20 and 30 miles an hour. So the winds are starting to pick up in the central and western portion of the state, and that trend will continue here into eastern Iowa as we get into the overnight hours. So more rattling of the windows from the rain, from the winds here during the overnight hours. Maybe a little unsettled night tonight because of the wind, not because of the thunderstorms that will be passing on through, which are just a few of those showers lingering. And we've, obviously we're just talking about the reports of damage near Olwine and Fairbank. That might add a little, it's not great news for the crews who are heading out tonight to clean up. And there's a lot of loose stuff out there as well. So I've seen some pictures of an apartment building that has gotten some damage to it, and there's some, some debris out there, and so with some gusty winds that may move some of that around a little bit. So please be careful as you go out in there later tonight and into the day tomorrow for some of the gusty winds blowing some of this around. And one thing that we haven't really mentioned with all this debris and stuff, don't touch any power lines that might be down, or don't go near them, because those are still probably live and could cause electrocution. It's always very important to point out that even though those power lines are down, they might still be active. If you do come across a down power line, even if you think it's been a half hour or whatever, call your power company, call local authorities, just to let them know that that's the situation you're seeing, and they'll get out there and take care of it and cut off power if they need to. But certainly going to be a long night of picking up in some of these areas where we have seen tornadoes. Of course, just to kind of brief you here, that tornado watch was issued a little bit earlier this afternoon. This was noted as a particularly dangerous situation, tornado watch, and this was due to the fact that the environment had a lot of wind shear, and we had a few fronts that were in the area which indicate a lot of rotation. So we did get several reports of tornadoes. The first one coming in at about 5:45 near the Hudson area, and we just heard in the scanners over in the newsroom of some of that damage. We didn't have a tornado warning out, but we were right on air with you right as soon as we heard of those damage reports, right around Highway 63 and Rhinebeck Road, and then that of course did continue to track northeast toward Waterloo. A lot of you sending in photos and video, which we certainly do appreciate during these times. It really helps tell our weather story. We've been getting a lot of video and pictures of the tornado damage in the Olwine area as well. So if you can safely take photos, if you can safely send us some reports, it really helps us tell the story. You can see that tornado watch continues to be sliced back just a bit as that tornado threat is coming to an end. But we continue here for the next minute or so with a tornado warning in portions of Jones and portions of Clayton County. But again, that tornado threat is winding down, and you just saw right as we were on the air that these warnings have been allowed to expire. Still, if you're living in portions of Dubuque County around Epworth and even toward the Dubuque area, these storms continue to track northeast with some heavy rain and lightning. Guttenberg, Colesburg, you're going to get in on that rain as well. Again, nothing is severe at this point in time. We continue to see a few lingering showers and thunderstorms into portions of Winneshiek, Clayton, and Alameda County. And of course, that severe thunderstorm warning for Crawford and Grant County in Wisconsin does continue here until about 7:45. So once again, we have no warnings in the KWWL viewing area. That warning that is popping up is in portions of Illinois. So we are going to continue to take in some reports of damage, and we will have a complete update for you coming up on KWWL News at 10 o'clock. For right now, we will get you back to regular scheduled programming.
This has been a Storm Track 7 severe weather alert. For more on current conditions, go to KWWL.com.